Hello, edition 3 of Video Interface already. Here's the stop frame index, and the timings are taken from now. We have 3 pre-announcement looks at new products in this edition, which is an interesting trend as we had 1 in edition 1 and 2 in edition 2. The ROD report comes from the recent JWP Multimedia seminar, and we have a longer, much better look at Toshiba's new T100X pen computer, still not yet released in the UK incidentally. As promised, we put your questions to David Smith at Microsoft, and of course we'll also look at the latest news and have our rundown of the software top 20 courtesy of Frontline. So there's all that and a lot more to get through, so we better get going. In the last edition we showed you Improv, Lotus's new dynamic spreadsheet. Video Interface will always present a balanced view of the subject, so here's a pre-release look at Computer Associates Compete 5, a product which will be released in the June-July timeframe. Darren Smithson is talking with Jane Tunley, Spreadsheet Product Manager at Computer Associates.
Hello Jane, welcome to Video Interface.
Thank you very much, Darren.
Now, most of the major software houses have a spreadsheet package, and Computer Associates have had themselves with SuperCalc for some time. Why is Compete 5 so different? I mean, surely a spreadsheet is just a spreadsheet, isn't it?
Well, no, not really. Compete really is taking multi-dimensionality several steps forward. If we take a look at the example we have on the screen, as you can see, the column headings and the row headings, we've replaced the need for cryptic references by allowing you to use English names.
Okay.
If we look then at the formula, again this makes a lot more sense and you get more meaningful formulae, such as to calculate gross profit, we're using sales minus costs.
Okay. Multi-dimensions in a spreadsheet aren't new. Why are you claiming that CA's implementation is so unique?
Okay, well in conventional spreadsheets it's very easy to obtain perhaps 3 types of information by introducing multi-pages. Compete's multi-dimensionality allows you to work with 12 dimensions. In other words, at one point you can actually receive 12 types of different information. Again, if we look at this example, not only are we looking at January sales, but it's also showing us the location, London, and the product, painting. So straight away you're seeing 4 types of information. Okay, now very often multidimensionality is a feature that people perceive as something that only a couple of power users will use, but even the most simple spreadsheet can benefit from multidimensionality. If you wanted to, say, set this information up for 3 different locations and 3 different products, in a conventional spreadsheet, you'd have to repeat that information 9 times. But with Compete, you simply select the location you wish to look at.
Right.
Okay, and again we can go back to London. We can look at a different product simply by selecting the product or the location we wish to look at.
Now that's really useful. I'm the sort of user who could get hopelessly lost in the spreadsheet. What else can Compete 5 offer to someone like me to make life that much easier?
Well, several things actually. Alternatively to actually just changing the location or the product, you can actually change and look at a totally different perspective of your information.
Right.
If you wanted to look at gross profit for all of your locations, all you simply need to do is click and drag.
Right.
Take hold of the location dimension and drop it onto profit. You're now looking at a totally different perspective.
Okay.
And we'll pop it back to the original view. Now, also talking of saving time, very often users perhaps only use their spreadsheets occasionally. It's difficult to remember complex formulae. By using Compete's tools, it really eliminates the need to remember the layout of the formula and builds the formulae for you.
Okay, I mean it's the formula point that I usually get hopelessly lost anyway.
That's right. Well, just to point out some of the tools, allocation, forecasting, and they're all driven by a user-friendly dialog box, so there's not a square bracket or a comma in sight.
Oh, that's going to save a lot.
Great. It will do, yes. Okay, now finally I think it's important to mention that not only do you have this multi-dimensional view within Compete, but it also offers a standard 2-dimensional spreadsheet. If I go to a report, okay, a spreadsheet view, here I'm taking advantage of a variety of different graphical attributes. I've suppressed the column and row headings as well as the grid. That's why it just looks blank. But you've got all of the spreadsheet functionality that you would expect, including a very powerful macro programming language called Cable. Now the beauty of a spreadsheet view is the ability to be able to create all kinds of free format reports. Now you can do this very quickly and easily within the spreadsheet view. But this data hasn't actually been entered directly into the spreadsheet view, but it's being automatically extracted from the multi-dimensional view. What this means, if we tile the two side by side, what this means if you make any changes to your model, so let's make January sales 30,000. If you now look back at the report when we press return, the information is automatically updated.
Okay. If you wanted to play around with the figures, I assume you could suppress that feature.
Yes, you certainly can. You've got all that sort of flexibility within CA Compete.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in, Jane, today.
Thank you very much.
Computer Associates have very kindly offered to arrange private viewings for our viewers if you want to find out a little bit more about Compete. If you do, please contact your account manager and he'll arrange it for you.
It's news time again, and we start with a whole raft of announcements from IBM. 10 new PS2s head the list, of which the new Model 85s are probably the most significant. They replaced the old Model 80, which was discontinued last year. Positioned as departmental file servers, we have waited for some time for these new systems. There are also new VPs, with virtually the whole range being refreshed. Changes include local bus video, larger hard disks, and some smaller footprint models. IBM have also moved into pen computing with 3 new tablets. For the first time, IBM feature PCM-CIA slots in these. Over the next 2 to 3 months, IBM will release several new systems using PCM-CIA technology and look upon it as a vital part of their future technical strategy. Incidentally, JWP's Interface magazine printed an article back in November of 1991 stressing the importance of this new technology. Software and a joint announcement by Borland and WordPerfect of a strategic alliance. The aim is clearly to combat Microsoft's Office and Lotus's Smart Suite offerings with a suite of their own. Already named in the press release as Borland Office for Windows, the package is a combination of WordPerfect 5.2 for Windows, Quattro Pro for Windows and Paradox for Windows. If you're looking for a software suite containing WP, Spreadsheet and Database, rather than WP, Spreadsheet and Presentation Graphics, then this new offering could be for you, although prices are not yet announced. Microsoft have launched what their 12-page press release describes as the ultimate hands-on experience. This is the new Microsoft ergonomic pointing device, giving enhanced support to the hand for long-term ergonomic comfort to minimize physical and psychological stress. Yes, quite. It looks like a curved mouse to me. The new ergonomic pointing device driver software is interesting though. Your mouse pointer can now jump straight to the default option in dialog boxes. Now that is useful. Finally, we've been asked to mention the Forum for Business Technology Managers. This is a non-profit making organisation set up purely for the mutual benefits of its members. If you're a manager in the information technology role, and you probably are if you're watching this, you could find this group interesting. Contact David Philpotts, whose main role in life is Development Manager of the Nationwide Building Society. Hit the pause button now to take down the details. Many of you watching this will have attended the JWP Multimedia Seminar on the 22nd of April. Delegates heard from IBM, UCM, Toshiba, Multitech, Lotus, Chrysalis Multimedia and others. Michael Rodd was one of the presenters, but he was also there with his video interface hat on. He talked to a number of our delegates to find out their views on multimedia and their plans for developing multimedia solutions. There were some very interesting views expressed. Here's the Rodd report from the JWP Multimedia Seminar.
This is Brent Smith of the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre. Brent, where do you stand on multimedia?
Multimedia, we'd like to use it an awful lot. We have clients coming in all the time who are asking us whether we have it or whether we use it, and we say yes.
It's very easy to see multimedia as a vehicle for enhanced video, basically. You know, corporate videos now, you have a kiosk system at an AGM meeting or, you know, in a retail store. Those are obvious applications, but there's a lot of application in-house to enable your people to communicate and work more effectively.
How hard are you trying to come to terms with multimedia?
I've been to several seminars over the last sort of year, trying to look at the different training aspects that are available, and I still don't feel that in IT training it could replace the human being.
What would you have to see before you were convinced?
I'd have to see people using it, using the systems the way that we teach them to, that it's definitely geared to our business, that would be very bespoke, and that, you know, if marketing wanted something for marketing, they would get a marketing course, sales would get a sales course, finance a finance course, but they're all using WordPerfect.
Do you see multimedia remaining a gizmo-dominated business then, or is it going to move into the sort of areas that would interest you seriously?
No, I don't see it as remaining in that arena. I think, like most innovative technologies, first and foremost, they're sold for their glitz. They get people excited. IT people particularly tend to get excited by a new piece of technology.
No, I expect technology to stand still and nothing to happen over the next 18 months. No, it's going to change. It will. Just like black and white monitors gave way to colour monitors, everybody, I mean, the first presenter this morning was saying in the year 2000 you'll have 100 million transistors on a chip. Now I can remember that. I can reel off a load of facts. Now how do I remember that? Because I saw it and he put it down in a way that it went straight into my head, and I believe him, and I think that's absolutely true, and I think everybody else believed him, and I think he'll be proven to be right.
Is there a danger that it is capable of doing so much it's confusing potential users?
That's a good question. I think users who have used it are not confused. I think the people who are confused are not the early adapters, are the people that haven't used it yet. Once you see it, once you see the benefits of it, I think this visual thing is instantly, you instantly know that it would be of benefit to your organisation.
My feeling is very firmly, though, that this is a creative medium, first and foremost, and therefore it isn't the base technology that's important. That's just an enabler. That's just like the telephone. Nobody thinks about what happens back in the exchanges, right? They just use the medium, and it's getting closer to that.
And this is probably the most impressive conference I've been to of all the conference industries I've been working for 3 years. That it's actually put the finger on exactly how I've been thinking. A lot of clients we talked to have been thinking the same way. So it's been good for that.
A month from now, Delrina Corporation are launching in the UK the latest in a market-leading series of forms products. Now, JWP perceive quite an interest in the corporate marketplace in forms. In other words, the changing of paper forms and putting them onto PC networks as a means to re-engineer work processes. And a large part of this interest centres around the automation of forms routing. Now, Larry Levy is Managing Director of Delrina Corporation in the UK. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
First of all, let me just thank you for showing us this product even before the press get their advance preview, so thank you for that. But tell me, what makes your new product unique?
The first element is the ability to actually design a form or process a form.
Yeah.
We have very, very specific tools for designing forms. Mm-hmm. These include combs and tools that are really very much forms DTP based.
This looks very smart, I must say.
Yeah, you can see we lifted off a logo of
I
yours.
noticed that, that's what I'm saying, it's smart, yes.
Very, very apt, I thought. We also have the ability to make this form very intelligent in terms of utilizing static information or information that's stored somewhere else on a company database. Mm-hmm. We have the ability to limit the input that one allows onto a screen, right, or onto a field, and that then can be referenced to another field. Mm-hmm. So immediately you're setting up a relationship, therefore cutting down on the amount of or the percentage of error that a person filling this form in will go through. We also have the ability to perform calculations, mm-hmm, and as you can see here, we've added up that field, put in a calculation there. What we also have is the ability to lock this form with a password. Mm-hmm. So this form can actually be password protected, mm-hmm, and locked with what's known as an electronic signature. Right. And you can see here, based on this total, this form has to be approved by a director.
In big yellow letters.
In big yellow letters, lest we not forget. So the whole process is that once somebody's actually filled this form in, using the intelligent form language, we can actually define where this form should be routed to.
Right.
So it's not up to the user to actually determine where this form should go. The rules based on who this person is and which department they're in and what amount they're actually requisitioning will determine where this form should go.
So your £4,800 total that must be signed off by a director would automatically go to the right director who would be able to sign that off?
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And all with the push of a button.
No more lost forms.
Exactly. We actually have a very, very sophisticated tracking database underneath us that allows you to actually track exactly where a form's got to and what stage of the process
Yeah,
it's
that's
in.
useful. Yeah.
Very,
so you
very
can find out
useful.
where your expenses have got stuck.
Yes, that's
Right.
actually a very, very key
Right.
application.
Implement today, please. Yeah. Okay.
What we've also done is we have customized this interface to suit a particular user. So this user needs to know nothing about form flow. All he needs to do is boot up the screen straight from an icon, and up comes some very, very simple instructions. We have context-sensitive help, and with the intelligence that we can put behind these fields, it should make filling in forms a doddle.
Okay, I must say, I like this, but if you're going to start putting graphics into forms and things like, as you've obviously done for us here for this demonstration, you're going to bring down the network, aren't you? Sending hundreds of forms with embedded bitmaps and so forth in it?
That's correct. What we've done is we've actually come up with a solution that should be the network administrator's dream. And why I say that is we've actually defined a package, a forms package, or we've broken it down into 3 elements. There's the form itself, there's the associated graphics, and there's the underlying database. And if I can just use an example, if I was sending this form to you, what I would do is there would be no requirement for me or no necessity for me to actually send you the graphic.
Right.
So the graphic would stay on my server, on my hard drive, and I just send you a reference to that graphic. So when I sent this form over to you, the only thing I'd send is the form itself and references to both the graphic and the database.
Right.
And in that way we can maximize on the amount of traffic that actually goes through a network system.
So it doesn't bring the server down?
It definitely won't bring the server down.
Okay. Larry, I've got to stop you on that subject because I just want to talk briefly about pen computing. After we showed the NCR pen computer in the last edition of Video Interface, several people contacted us and said, wonderful, but where do you get the forms? Do Delrina products support pen computers?
The answer to that is very unequivocal, yes.
Good.
We actually have been doing so for the last year. Anybody that's interested in actually seeing the technology, we do have proof that the technology exists, and Delrina are very, very much behind the idea of pen computing. The form and pen computing fit very nicely.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for coming in and sharing this all with us, Larry.
It's a pleasure.
And here is something that may make pen computing come of age. This is the review that we promised you last time of Toshiba's new T100X. Darren Smithson spoke with Guy Tweedale.
Because Michael concentrated on the rationale behind pen computing in the last edition, let's ask a more direct question. What users are Toshiba aiming for with this system?
Well, Darren, Toshiba are not specifically aiming at users. We're more aiming at applications for pen computing to start the market off.
So can you give me an idea of some of the applications?
Yeah, we can break it down into certain market sectors, but primarily we're looking at applications that involve data gathering in terms of form filling, ticking boxes, applications like graphical information systems, annotation, that sort of thing. I mean, I can show you something on graphical information systems if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So in this case, Darren, we've got an application where you have a map on the screen, and a surveyor or somebody who's going out into the field to annotate this kind of map would go to the location, perhaps noting down new buildings or new objects on the screen, or maybe attaching little notes onto those that can be opened and closed with dimensions of buildings, that sort of things. Okay, this would then be taken back to base and input into a main Ordnance Survey database type system.
Okay, I've got to ask this question. Why are Toshiba only now moving into the pen arena?
Well, Darren, Toshiba have been involved in the pen arena now for the last 2 to 3 years since pen emerged. What we've done is we've looked at the market, we've seen some of the products that have come along, We've realised that the technology is not really mature enough for pen, and we've waited. We've played the waiting game. We've talked to our customers around the world. We've asked them their opinion of some of the existing systems, and we've said the first generation systems were too big, too heavy, the battery life wasn't very good, the screen wasn't very good. The operating systems fundamentally weren't up to the job, so we've waited for the technology to mature. We've now gone and produced what we feel is a second generation system, which is much lighter in weight. It's less than A4 form factor, as you can see. The operating systems are now in a mature position, and the screen quality is to Toshiba's usual standards.
Okay. What is the operating system strategy from Toshiba?
Well, Darren, there are two operating systems which are the mainstay within the marketplace at the moment. There are many other operating systems, but the two most important ones, as far as we're concerned, are Go Corporation's PenPoint and Microsoft Windows for Pen Computing, or Pen Windows as it's sometimes known.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've decided to build one box which will support both operating systems and give the customer the choice which operating system they want.
We saw the NCR product last time around running Pen Windows, so perhaps you could show us some of the features of PenPoint so that our viewers out there can see the differences.
Okay, Darren. Well, PenPoint is designed around the notebook metaphor. Basically, when you start the machine up, you get presented with a page of contents. And on that page of contents, there are the typical things you would expect. There are sections, and down the side, you can have little tab marks to move from one section to the other if that's the way you want to do it.
Okay.
Okay. So, PenPoint is designed specifically for the pen. It wasn't designed as Windows was designed as a keyboard and mouse operating system and then the pen extensions added.
Right.
This has been designed from the ground up to operate around the pen. So it's controlled primarily by the use of gestures. So if I want to, as you can see on this particular page here, the page goes down beyond the bottom. So if I want to move the bottom to the top, I just do a gesture and up it goes.
Okay.
If I want to do something like edit the title of a section, I would draw a circle around it and it will pop up the title in there, and then I can say write in a little bit extra. Okay, and that will change what's on the page.
Okay.
Okay. If I want to delete something, I would then just cross something out, and I would give them the option: do I want to delete it or cancel the delete command? Okay, I would delete that particular one there. If I then want to turn to a page, I can do it either by double tapping on the icon for the page down the side, or merely by just touching the page number.
Okay. So it seems very intuitive, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why Toshiba went that way. One of the biggest objections I think that most end users have is the handwriting recognition. How intelligent is this system at recognizing the handwriting of a user?
Okay. Well, the handwriting recognition is a function of the operating system, not the machine. The speed at which the machine does the handwriting recognition is obviously dependent on the speed of the processor that's in the box. But the handwriting recognition is purely down to whether the operating system's handwriting recognition engine is any good or not. We've found through experience that today you can expect 90 to 95% recognition from normal, reasonably clear printed script. And you can improve slightly by training the system to recognize your own handwriting. Okay. So, but if I show you on a system that knows my handwriting reasonably well, what that really means, if I go to a mini text type application and open up an edit box so that I can type some text in, and I would say, write fairly quickly, hello Darren. I click on it and say, there you go, and we've got one letter wrong, and now it's okay.
I think a lot of people will be interested in the pen system, particularly after the demonstration we've seen today. Thank you very much for coming back into the studios, Guy. In the meantime, here's Steve.
It's great technology, Darren. I like that. The software is moving on apace as well. In June of this year, Adobe Systems will release a new strategically important multi-platform product by the name of Acrobat. With us today is Richard Patterson, an independent consultant who's been looking at this technology. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Stephen. Pleasure to be here.
Acrobat is not an application in the sense it's not a spreadsheet, it's not a graphics package, so what does it do?
Well, Acrobat is some innovative new technology from Adobe Systems, the objective of which is to produce portable electronic document communication. the goal of which is to make the computer as transparent a communications medium as the telephone has been to business users.
Right. But PCs have been communicating documents and swapping them between them for ages, surely?
Well, the answer of that is no, they haven't. Computers and PCs have been creating documents for a long time, but if you was to swap documents between them, that's been incredibly difficult. What typically happens is someone will produce his favourite word processor or charting application spreadsheet, produce a feature-rich document containing colour, type, graphics, etc. But then in order to communicate it to someone, he will commit it to paper. And there's some staggering figures on paper usage in the UK business community. In 1992, there were 3 million tonnes consumed in the business community. 77 billion photocopies produced.
Grief,
Unbelievable. 10,000 tonnes used for fax transmissions.
Amazing.
That added up to £1 billion worth in just business paper
That's
usage.
just in the UK?
That's just in the UK. That excludes publishing, just business internal usage.
Amazing, okay.
Now, if people want to send documents electronically now, the only thing they can do is to just commit the document to raw ASCII. And of course, going to raw ASCII, you lose all the feature richness you can put in with today's modern application packages.
Yes, of course.
What Acrobat will do is allow you to escape from the ASCII jail.
Right, okay. Can you show this?
Yes,
we've got a file on, that started off on the PC that we
Yes.
made a copy from it there, and we've moved it over to the Mac. I
Yes,
gather.
we have both here a PC and a Macintosh, both running an Acrobat viewer. I don't know what application actually created this document. In fact, the whole nice thing about Acrobat is we don't have to care. Now, I have a printed version of the document here. It's the Adobe annual report. One of the attributes of Acrobat is, in fact, the data format is very compact, which is going to be important for electronic transmission of the data. In PostScript, this started off as 70 plus megabytes, as Acrobat is less than a megabyte in size for a 35-page document.
Really?
Now, I will demonstrate it on the Macintosh here. Now, what can I do with a Acrobat-based document? Well, very much like a paper-based document, I can go from page to page. So if I click here, I will go to this page here. Because it's based on outline font technology, I can zoom in and have a look at the text a little bit closer. And it, not like scaling bitmaps, you keep all the nice fonts,
Yes,
etc. What else can I do to it? Well, if I'm the financial director and I want to have a look at this chart here, I can go in and say, oh, I don't like the figures I'm seeing there. So I can open up a little window and I can say to my person who produced the chart, check data, and close that up. And I can then electronically communicate that back to the person who produced it.
Okay. This is clever technology, obviously. What's behind it? What's involved?
There's really 3 core technologies involved. There's PDF, which stands for Portable Document Format, which is actually the file data format itself, which Adobe will publish and put in the public domain when the product is launched.
Oh, that's good. So they're not restricting
no,
it to their
absolutely
own
not. It's going to
software
be
and so
open.
on.
There's the viewer, which is what we've been navigating around here, and then there's the multiple master font technology.
Okay. All this seems so logical. The question must arise, why hasn't somebody done it before?
Well, I think if we go back not very long in time, you've got to remember it hasn't been until very recently that computers actually communicated physically to each other. A few years ago, we were locked into a world where Macs wouldn't communicate to PCs, mainframes wouldn't communicate to PCs. That is essentially a solved problem. We have cracked the problem of physical communication of data. Acrobat is the logical extension of what data to push down this physical communications medium in order to have portable electronic document communication.
Okay. So in June, this comes out, I gather.
That's
so we
correct.
can look at it and try it for ourselves and gain the benefits therefrom. Thank you very much indeed for coming in, Richard. Let's stay with software for the moment. Here's the Frontline Top 20. With me now is David Smith, who is Systems Marketing Manager at Microsoft. Hello, David.
Hello, Steve, and thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We have some questions, as you know, that have been sent in by our customers. I suppose we better launch into them. First one says, what is the justification for a corporate user with multiple LAN manager servers running Windows for workgroups? But if we can widen that and say, what is the point of anybody with any network buying Windows for workgroups?
Well, Windows for Workgroups is the latest version of our Windows family of products, and it's specifically designed for those corporate customers who want to improve the productivity of their network, their existing network, whether that be a Microsoft network or anybody's network. And the way that we try to do that is in a number of ways. First of all, we think network needs to be easier to use for the user who's accessing the network. The second is that the network needs to be easier to administer. It needs to be easier for the MIS manager to administer users, to offer support, to work and install network software. And it needs to be more robust. And Windows for Workgroups is aiming to achieve that. Finally, Windows networking needs to be more productive. Applications need to be written that can be more productive, and Windows for Workgroups enables what we call workgroup applications to be run on the network client. And we in fact include a couple of productivity workgroup applications, electronic mail and scheduling, in that system. So those things together really do, we believe, enhance the productivity of the network and really take what you've got and make it that much more productive. And in fact today over 50% of our sales of Windows for Workgroups are to corporates who've already got networks and are doing just that,
Really?
putting Windows for Workgroups on there to make their networks more productive.
So people are already adding value to their existing
Absolutely.
network by buying it. Okay, let's turn to Windows NT. A number of customers have said, in effect, that why should I buy NT if I'm a Novell user?
Well, it's a very good question, Steve, and in fact this is the number one question that we get asked of Novell users. And the first thing I'd like to say categorically is Windows NT is not designed to replace your Novell network. Just like Windows for Workgroups is trying to enhance your Novell network on the client, Windows NT is trying to add another dimension to your network. Very specifically, Windows NT is really there to be a server, an application server, so that you can actually begin to use your PC network to downsize or right size. And in fact, one of the big efforts and focuses of Windows NT is to be a platform for host-based applications running on a PC-style server. And so you will see applications such as inventory control, manufacturing, database. We've just announced with Dun & Bradstream that their SmartStream application software, which is very much a mission-critical application, all will be available on Windows NT. So to the Novell user, what we're saying is that client-server computing or application servers become a reality in the Novell environment, and you can run your Novell environment with Windows NT Advanced Server, for example, running alongside your Novell system.
Okay, if we can stay with that subject for a moment, we had one or two fairly angry comments, I must say, about delivery times for NT. Would you comment on delivery times in general and promised delivery times?
It's a difficult situation for us in that not many people remember, but way back in 1983 when we first decided to introduce Windows, we actually announced Windows version 1 in 1983 and didn't physically ship it until 1985, and it was constantly late, and it was very embarrassing for us and it was very upsetting for the customer. So ever since then we've made a policy which says that we don't formally announce a delivery date. However, as you probably experience, a lot of your customers have to do planning many months ahead, and so we feel that we have to give some indication of when the product's coming along. And so we always say that if someone asks us, we will give our best estimate, but always try and say at the same time, this is an estimate and it's likely to change. Fundamentally, Microsoft believes we don't ship products until they're absolutely ready to ship, and we won't sort of let the delivery time dictate product availability. The product has to be right for our customers.
A number of questions have been sent in showing considerable concern about the future of LAN Manager, especially in the light of NT developments, NT Advanced Server and so on. And people are wondering if they're in for wholesale upgrades and changes and that sort of thing. Can you reassure these people or put them out of their misery? One of the two.
I can hopefully do both. I can first of all reassure everyone that LAN Manager is not going to be replaced. People who've invested in LAN Manager, I mean, we currently have 30% market share, and that is down to the fact it's very reliable and people understand the product. You can't just change these products overnight. So LAN Manager will continue, it will be fully supported, and it will be enhanced. The main issue with LAN Manager is that today it runs on OS2, on Unix and on VMS, and unfortunately those operating systems don't have the same functionality as Windows NT. So some of the features of Windows NT Advanced Server will not find their way to the LAN manager versions on those platforms. Things like C2 security, some trusted domain architectures. These things require inherent changes to the operating system, cannot work. So absolutely continue to support and to enhance LAN manager, but with the proviso that not all of the functionality will be available on those platforms.
Okay. We've had several questions with an MS-DOS basis. The main thrust of these being that although MS-DOS 6 is great, what about things such as 32-bit support, multitasking, the use of more memory, breaking the 640K barrier? There's still plenty of things people want out of DOS out there. What's happening about those?
Well, you're right, MS-DOS 6 has been very successful and is being successful, but there are still things to be done, and we acknowledge and we completely believe that there is life for MS-DOS outside of Windows. You know, everybody believes that Windows will become the dominant environment, but there will be people who do want MS-DOS only systems. So MS-DOS will continue. There are developments afoot now that are tied and parallel to Windows that will do all of those things, will break the 640 barrier, will give you 32-bit computing, and will give you multitasking, and basically give you the option to run without the Windows interface and without some of the additional features of Windows.
Okay. Finally, some quick questions that should have sort of 1 or 2 word answers. What's going to be the cost of Hermes?
Well, for those people who don't know, Hermes is actually a code name for a new development at Microsoft, which is our systems management for Windows NT software, which basically allows an MIS manager to do inventory control, installation, electronic licensing and distribution of software. And it requires Windows NT Advanced Server. Basically, there's been a lot of questioning about at Microsoft of whether or not Hermes should be included with Advanced Server, Windows NT Advanced Server, in the product. At this moment, we haven't made a decision, so we don't have a firm decision on pricing. What I would say is that as soon as we have made a price decision, we'll make it available to your company, Steve, so you can distribute that to your customers.
So I would guess that licensing issues are still very much up in the air for that as well.
As well, licensing issues. The main thing I would say is the best way forward is to look at Windows NT Advanced Server. That is the first step to Hermes. Once you understand Windows NT Advanced Server, you'll then be ready in good position to understand Hermes.
Okay, there'll be a beta program for it.
There'll be a beta program, and people who are interested in, I would ask them to write to you with their name, with their contact telephone number. You could collate them, and there'll be a beta program.
Okay, well, we'll pass that information on. Prof's Gateway, a date for that?
Prof's Gateway exists today, actually, Steve. It already exists in shipping. It's a gateway for our Microsoft Mail 3 product. So you can buy it now and connect into your Prof system.
Right, okay. And the price of that is presumably known then?
Yes, basically the price of that, I have to cut my notes here, but the basic price is £3,480. That's recommended retail price, and that gives you a gateway. And then you also need to have some host software to run on your IBM system. And if you've got that software, then you don't need, obviously, to purchase it. If you want to, if you need it, then you can buy that from Microsoft for £10,458.
There you go, a precise answer. That's what we like. Okay, one final question. Will Windows NT have disk compression as DOS 6 does?
No, it won't. Windows NT is very much aimed as being a platform for client-server computing, for right-sizing, downsizing, and the disk compression in MS-DOS 6 doesn't fit within the C2 secure model that we require. We are actually looking at compression in general for Windows NT because we think there is some good technology there, and if Windows NT develops its own compression, we would make it compatible, but within the framework that customers understand that if they go to MS-DOS 6 compression compatibility, they're not going to get the C2 secure features that they may require.
Which is obviously important to somebody.
Which is very important for Windows NT.
For NT type clients,
it's very important to us that people don't believe that Windows NT will replace MS-DOS or Windows. We have no expectation for Windows NT sales to replace Windows or MS-DOS sales. It's completely a new market in the way I described earlier.
Okay, that's a nice statement to end on. David, thank you very much for joining us and answering all these customer questions.
Thank you very much.
And that is about it for this edition of Video Interface. We'll see you again on video in about 6 weeks. Cheerio for now.